Welcome to the Photobooth Supply Co. YouTube page. My name is Catalina and I am the owner of Modern Photobooth Company, and I'm here to teach you all things photobooth business related. In today's video, we're going to be talking about white labeling. Did you know that some of Costco's most famous products aren't even made by them? Kirkland diapers, for example, are actually made by Huggies, and their super famous batteries that are super cheap and last forever, well, that's because they're made by Duracell. White labeling is also something that is very common in the photobooth community and probably one of the things that is most commonly done incorrectly. So in today's video, we're gonna go over all of the things you need to know about white labeling. So what is it exactly? Well, white labeling as a photobooth company means that you hire another photobooth company to represent you at an event. You might be wondering, why would I ever want to do this? But there are actually a few very good reasons why you might want to do this. Let's say, for example, you are fully booked, but your best client ever is getting married and they really want to have a photo booth. What are you going to do? You're already booked for that date and all of your photo booths are not available. This is where you might want to white label one of your previous events so that you can actually go to your favorite client's wedding and do the absolute best job ever for them, because you know they're going to give you more business after that. Or let's say that this client is not only getting married, but they're getting married in Mexico. Well, you can't legally work in Mexico unless you are of Mexican nationality. Believe it or not, international weddings like that is not easy to do with a photo booth. You can't just bring your photo booth on a plane. That's conducting business in another country, and you can actually have your equipment confiscated by customs if you try to enter it illegally. So in this case, you would probably want to find somebody in Mexico to represent your company and actually do the job for you. This also allows you to enjoy the wedding and not have to work. Another reason might be that you're getting multiple requests for days where you're already booked, and now you're starting to see a consistency happening. So maybe book those ones and see what happens, because that might be an indication that you need to buy a new photo booth. As a rule of thumb, I like to book at least 3 events for dates that we are already fully booked, because that tells me that we absolutely need to buy more equipment. But before we do that, we would white label those jobs out just to make sure that they actually complete. Whatever the reason is, white labeling might be what you need. And in fact, I know a lot of photo booth owners who don't even do jobs themselves. They literally outsource everything. This is a great concept, right? But who does what? And what are the intricacies of white labeling? We get a lot of questions about, like, what should I be asking them to do? How much do I pay them? All that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna go over each one in detail. As the company that is white labeling the job out, as in you are hiring another company to do the job, your responsibilities are communicating with the client, making all of the design elements, programming the photo booth, communicating with whoever you contract out, as well as keeping a portion of the payment. Now, payment portion can be different depending on how complicated the job is. So it can range anywhere between 25% to 40%. That's the portion of the job that you will keep. Now, this is because you're doing a lot of the admin work, but the expensive part of the personnel and actually running the equipment is going to be done by someone else. So they generally get a bigger chunk of the pie. The company that you contract out has these responsibilities. They need to execute the event. They are in charge of staffing it. They have to provide all the equipment and usables such as printer paper and that kind of stuff, backdrop, all of that. They also need to make sure that they represent you. At no point should anything having to do with their business show up anywhere. No logos on the photo booth. They definitely shouldn't be wearing branded shirts by their own company. They should be wearing anything that you tell them to wear. They also should not be handing out their own business cards. They should be handing out your business cards. We oftentimes will send business cards to our white labelers so that they can hand them out at the event. They also need to follow your instructions to a T. So you should also set up a day before the event to test their photo booth and the event, and obviously program it for them. Depending on what programs you use, you want to make sure that they are using the same one. We generally try to only use companies that use the exact same photo booth as us and the exact same programs. So who sets the price? Well, normally it's going to be whoever is contracting the job out. So if you're hiring somebody else to do the white labeling job, you would tell them exactly how much you're going to pay them. Now, if they're not willing to do it for that amount, that's totally fine. Everyone has a number that they will work for. For example, for us, we will never white label, work for somebody else if it's under $900, because at that point, it just doesn't make sense for us. And that's usually what our minimum payout to another company is. Mind you, our packages range upwards of $1,700 at this point. Contracts are extremely important during white labeling, and there's a couple of key things that you need to include in your contract and go over with whoever you're contracting. I'm gonna go over each one of them in detail. And no, we do not provide any type of sample wording. You really need to go to a lawyer and make sure that they have written it out specific for whatever state or country you're working in. The first clause you're going to look at is quality of service. I know it seems like they should just know to give good quality, but what do you consider good quality? We actually stipulate exactly what needs to happen, as in what the exposure needs to look like, what the prints need to look like, what the service needs to be from their attendants. All of that stuff needs to be very well outlined in your contract so that they fully understand exactly how they need to represent you. Confidentiality agreement. Again, you would think this is a no-brainer, but you need to stipulate this and again, go over it with them in detail. By no stretch of the imagination should they ever mention that they are not your company. Your client should think that this is you and have no doubt in their mind. So their logo shouldn't show up anywhere. They definitely should never be trying to get jobs from that job that they're at. They should be you. Payment terms. You're going to want to outline exactly how this person's going to get paid. We generally like to pay a deposit up front, and then we will pay the remainder within a week of the event having concluded. We do this because it allows us a little bit of wiggle room should anything go wrong. Because frankly, if they don't do a good job and our client needs a refund, it is equally their responsibility to provide that refund as it is for us. They need to do the job that we have asked them to do, and if they have not obliged contractually, then we do have the option of removing some of that payment if we have to give a refund to our client for any reason. Customer interaction is also another one that we like to outline so that we can explain to them how do we normally interact with our clients and the guests. So how do we speak to them? What kind of service do we provide to them on site? We just want to go over that really quickly and also stipulate that in the contract. And this could include even the fact that you need to have two people. We always have two people. We have one person who's on the photo booth and we have one person who's either on the sharing station or on the prints. And this also allows you guys to have bathroom breaks when they're working, but it just gives a better service. So if you have two people all the time, make sure you outline that in the contract. Last but not least is transfer of rights. So you want to outline that all of the images that are taken that night do not belong to them by any stretch of the imagination. You do actually need to legally transfer that in the contract, because in some states, whoever touches the shutter is actually the owner of those images. So if they're the ones that are actually shooting all the time, they technically own that. Again, it's different for every state, but if you really want to know about it, Google monkey who has rights to selfie. It's a fun read. Anyways, make sure that you put that clause in there so that all of the pictures that are taken that night, they understand they have no copyright to, and they cannot post them on their website, on their Instagram. They literally should never even be posting in Facebook groups saying that they are working for you. Not even the community should know this. So once you have finished your contract, you might be wondering, where do I find people to white label for me? Well, if you purchased equipment from a manufacturer, there are probably other owners all over the place. You might be wondering where you should find white labeling people. Well, if you purchased your photo booth from a manufacturer, there's probably other people who have purchased your photo booth as well. Generally, they have a Facebook group. If you are part of the photo booth community, then you have thousands of people who are at your disposal to be able to white label for you around the world. This is a really great community and one of the biggest perks about being a Photo Booth Supply Co. owner. You can definitely reach out to people in your area who have your photo booth, or even in any of the other Facebook communities that are out there. Try and find people that you trust, and once you actually work with them a few times, they're actually just going to become part of your company. I can't tell you how many times other photo booth owners in my area have saved my butt for jobs. They've covered events for us, we've covered events for them. You really do need to get to know your competition. They really shouldn't be your competition. You guys should be working together so that you can both grow in your area. White labeling is a really great way to expand your business, and also a great way to understand when you need to purchase more equipment without having to lose out on those jobs. If you're looking to maybe open an office in another state as well, you can white label for the first little bit to see if it's a viable move for you. So if you have any more questions, please drop them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe so that you get when our next video comes out, which will be next week.